It was the start of a new, hot day in the savannah when a young giraffe named Eddie opened his eyes after a restful night's sleep. Eddie stretched out his legs from under him and lifted his long neck into the air to have a huge yawn. Eddie was greeted every morning by the warm sun touching his skin and his tummy rumbling. Eddie was always hungry after a good night's sleep.
"Mummy,"
Eddie said sleepily.
"Mummy, I'm hungry."
Eddie's mummy was still softly asleep and so couldn't hear Eddie.
"Mummy, I want some green leaves for breakfast from the really tall tree."
Eddie's mummy still slept on. Eddie didn't mind.
"It's okay, Mummy. I'll use my long neck to reach the leaves and I'll surprise you with breakfast."
And so off Eddie went, walking around the shrubs and trees until he reaches the tallest tree in the savannah, where his favourite green leaves grew. But Eddie was still young. His neck was not long enough to reach the leaves that hung so high in the sky. Eddie stretched and stretched his neck, twisting and jumping to grab onto any leaves so he could surprise his mummy when she woke up. But he couldn't reach.
"Oh, I just want some leaves. If only I were taller."
Eddie looked around to see if there was anything he could climb onto to be taller when he noticed a large grey rock nearby. Eddie had a fantastic idea.
"If I roll the rock over to this tree, I can stand on it and reach the tall tree and have all the leaves that I want."
And so off Eddie went, walking around the shrubs and trees until he reached the large grey rock. The closer Eddie walked to the rock, the larger it became until it was twice as big as Eddie. Eddie noticed that the rock had lots of lumps and bumps and was very rough.
"I'm not sure I can push a rock this big to the tree."
Eddie was getting sad. All he wanted to do was get some breakfast for him and his mummy. Eddie kicked the rock with his leg. The rock started to move. Eddie couldn't believe his eyes.
Mummy, there's a great big rock moving. Mummy, come quick and look."
Eddie's mum couldn't hear him as she was still at home sleeping.
"Mummy, it's moving. Mummy!"
The great big rock started to lift up high in the air, with legs growing out from underneath it. Eddie jumped back very scared, for he had never seen a rock with legs before. A loud booming noise came out from the rock when he turned around to see Eddie. "Well, hello," said the rock. "Was that you that kicked me?"
I,
stammered Eddie. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you, little giraffe," said the rock.
How do you know I'm a giraffe?"
said Eddie, very curious. "I know because of your long neck." Eddie was flattered.
I do have a long neck. Thank you. My name is Eddie."
"It's very nice to meet you, Eddie. My name is Alfred."
"I didn't know rocks had names," Eddie said, shocked.
The rock chuckled to himself. "I'm not a rock, Eddie. I'm an elephant." Eddie was confused. He'd never heard of an elephant before.
An elephant? But you look like a great big rock,"
Eddie explained. "Elephants often look like rocks when they are sleeping because of our grey and hard skin. But we are very big animals with long trunks." Alfred proudly showed off his long trunk to Eddie, who suddenly had an idea.
"Alfred, could you help me? I really want to get the leaves from that tall tree over there for breakfast for me and my mummy, but my neck is too small."
"Why, of course," boomed Alfred. "Bring me to the tree." And so off Eddie and Alfred went, walking around the shrubs and trees until they were at the tallest tree. Alfred lifted his trunk up and carefully wrapped it around one of the branches and pulled it down for Eddie to reach. Eddie stretched his neck and this time picked all of the leaves off of the branch. Eddie was so happy.
Thank you, Mr. Alfred,
Eddie said. It was my pleasure, Eddie. Now I don't suppose you could help me. I've been looking for a watering hole, but I can't seem to find one. Do you know where it is? Questioned Alfred.
I do know where the watering hole is, but I'd have to ask my mummy if it's okay that I go. Wait here, Mr. Alfred.
And so once again off Eddie went, walking around the shrubs and trees, back home carrying all the leaves where he found his mummy just waking up from her sleep.
Mummy, you're awake.
Good morning, Eddie. And what have you got there? Are those leaves from the tallest tree? How did you reach up there? Asked Eddie's mum.
I met an elephant named Alfred and he helped me, but he looked like a big grey rock.
You mean an elephant? Asked Eddie's mum.
That's what I said, Mummy, an elephant,
Eddie said proudly.
But he wants me to show him where the watering hole is, so can I go, Mummy? Please, pretty please?
Of course you can, Eddie, but make sure you're back in time for lunch, said Eddie's mum.
Yes, Mummy, I love lunch. It's my second favourite meal after breakfast.
And so off Eddie went around the shrubs and trees until he found Alfred and showed him to the watering hole, where they both drank and got to know each other, played in the water, and became the best of friends. The end.